Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is technical analysis of the stock market today. Today is Thursday, January 15. We're going to take a look at the markets the way we usually do, and then we're going to look at the global exchanges that we do: Germany, Russia, India, and China. And then the three stocks today are QIHU 360, Alibaba, and Baidu. Okay, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 106 points today. Volatility kind of contracted a little bit, and let's see. You know, they've got this trend line in here. We're looking at this trend line. We had a trend line that we drew from here to here, but it kind of got penetrated a little bit here. And it's, you know, it's like you draw the trend lines, and if their relevance, you know, becomes important, you'll see whether the trend line continues to, you know, become a factor or not. And if it doesn't, you just get rid of it. I mean, it's like, it's not something that you just spend a whole lot of time on. Now, here's another one where you draw a little trend line. Now, I'm going to come back to this when I talk about the VIX, because what's interesting is the trend line that's happening in these points on the Dow and all of the market indices is the same trend line that's happening as a top line slanting down on the VIX, and we'll come back to it. So right now we've got this close below the trend line, and you could say that support could potentially be right in here at 17,262 is the low, 17,264.90. See, almost 17,265 was the low. What did we get for a low here today? 298. So 17,265 seems to be, you know, the point that, you know, buying's coming in. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. And again, it's easier to look at a little bit. I say that, but it looks like the 1990, because the low here was 1992. The low here is 1988. So halfway between is 1990. And what was the low today? 1991, and it closed almost right on the low, pretty close. So 1990 is a key little support thing, and a support zone, support area. And actually, the fact that this broke trend line, just like the Dow, I think that's negative. You know, it broke it yesterday, but it broke it on a close today. So we'll see. It kind of makes, to me, the probability that 1990 is going to hold to be kind of low. So, you know, and the other thing is there's some other, you know, when you look at the XLF, and I didn't pull it up for tonight, we'll look at it on a Saturday, it's well below this low. So, you know, some things are really starting to break down. The NASDAQ today, looking now all of a sudden weaker than the Dow or the SPX. And it's closing below this trend line. This is a much flatter trend line in here. And so again, what's the low? 1467. The low 4567. I mean 4567. And so then the low back here in December, 4547. So right now, you know, it's right in here at the support area that it created here in the beginning, earlier in the month. New York Composite, let's see. Okay, I kept this one trend line in here. Let me blow this back up a little bit. I kept this trend line in. You can see how it penetrated, closed above it, slightly penetrated, closed slightly below it, and then it just today continued to sell off to the downside. You know, and again, this is one where the 21's below the 55. Now you see how the 55 is starting to flatten. It was up like this, rising. Now it's starting to flatten because the pricing is pulling it down. It's starting to average it out. The 21 is below it. So the short term and intermediate term on the New York Composite have turned negative. So we're gonna, you know, we'll see what kind of price action we get in here. You know, we may get a bounce. It wouldn't be surprising. We've been down for what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. Okay, let's see. Oh, and the Russell 2000, I hadn't looked at that. Let me blow that up. You know, I put these arrows in. This is where this trend line, this major trend line from 2009 has repelled these moves. It's pretty interesting. And then here you've got this break of the trend line here. And again, it's getting support coming in right at the low from the 6th, 1153, 1154.64. So right in that 53 to 55, 1153 to 55 area, which really is on the Russell 2000s where I've got the 233-day moving average. The 233-day moving average is right at 1153.88 today. So let's go back to S&P now. See, we're not even close to the 233-day moving average on the Dow and the S&P. The NASDAQ, not even close. New York Composite, though, look at all this trading that's going on below the 233-day. You know, we penetrated it. We've done it several times, so we're, you know, this is definitely the weaker picture of the stock market. And I'm keeping this, that this was the intraday high, and a 5-wave, wave 1 down, a 2 pullback, a minute wave 1. So basically now you're working a 3 to the downside. Okay, that's my scenario in the New York Composite. So this would be 1 of 3, a pullback 2 of 3. Now we would be working a 3 of 3. Now, so if that's the case, third waves are usually the strongest. So we'll see what kind of follow through we continue to get here and do we take out this low or not? Okay, short-term trading index. Let's see if I can find this stuff. Oh, there we go. Thought maybe I accidentally shut it back down. The 10-day is right at 1.30, so we're right, you know, again, right in the middle between these extremes, kind of a little bit more to the high side, which is not a surprise. The volatility index, this is what I was talking about before, okay? So you remember the trend lines, and so this is the 16th of December, and this is January 6th. And, you know, of course, this trend line is that bigger trend line, okay? So if I go back to the Dow, that trend line I was just showing you is this trend line, okay? It's this one right here, okay? So that's the one off the peak, because this is the October 15th, and you go back to the VIX, this is the October 15th, okay? So this was the height of the fear, okay? The peak of the selling that occurred. And so now we had a thrust higher here on the 16th, and then it sold back off. And so really, you know, you could almost draw a, and so really you're getting the break of the trend line here, kind of like the way you're getting it on the indices, in that, you know, that you're getting a close above this trend line is what I'm trying to say in here. So now it's going to be interesting to see. We continue higher. We're right at this bigger trend line here at 2339. We take out this point, and I've talked about this. We close above this trend line, take out this point. I think there's a really good chance that we're going to spike up and at least challenge this previous peak. We'll see. That's just speculation on my part. High-low. The high-lows bounced back up a little bit. 85 more new highs than new lows today, which is interesting. So, you know, given the market was down, Dow was down 103, and we had more new highs than new lows today. And the moving average, it's a little hard to see. Okay, the blue line is below the blue-gray line. Okay, so the 10-day is below the 21-day. So we've gotten a little cross. But what I've noticed is that when we've gotten these crosses before, the market's kind of pulled back and you know, either gone sideways or pulled back a little bit. So it's kind of deceiving. The high-low starts selling off, and it looks like it's selling off. But in reality, the market peaked here on the 18th, on September 18th. That was the high reading on the Dow. Okay, so this is kind of a indication, giving you a warning sign that, you know, the market's weakening, but that doesn't mean prices can't, you know, make one more push. So we'll have to watch and see how this plays out. You know, again, we've had 5 down days in a row now, so it doesn't mean you can't have 6 or 8 or 10 in a row, but the odds start to favor. You're going to get some kind of a bounce. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at start off with Germany if I can find it. There we go. The extra DAX. Okay, so we had this symmetrical triangle in here, and it broke out on the 13th. And then we had, I actually wonder whether it was a fake breakout or whether this was doing something else. And, you know, the jury's still out on it, but you got to say that the follow through that we got today kind of confirms the breakout to a certain degree. The volume's been well above the 50-day moving average of volume on it. Man, this isn't telling me a whole lot on the RSI. But you notice this big swinging. You know, this is all going on because of what happened with the Swiss currency, the Swiss franc, and how they lifted the cap that they were keeping on the Swiss franc. And then that just, everything went into turmoil. The markets kind of sold off pretty big initially, and then they rallied back and, you know, closed up near the highs. So the DAX did that. I know the CAC 40 in France did that. Let's go ahead and take a look at Russia. Russia's continued a little sideways over the last week, you know, still trending down. You know, no other big change to that picture. And India had a little bounce today. I'm still a little wary that this is some kind of chopping corrective action. I almost wonder whether this is kind of an A working a B and then we're going to get a C. So I'm not totally convinced at this point that this is a new leg up launching right here, but we'll see. Let's see, because we are in a 4th corrective wave, according to, you know, the way I've got it labeled. And the Shanghai Composite. This had a nice big up move today. From, let's see, 32, well, it tells me right over here, 114 points. That's pretty nice. Nice big percentage move, but it's pulling right back up into this resistance where all these dotted lines are previous pivot points that I had shown you before, all the way back, I don't know, a couple of years ago, you know, where the pivot points are a couple of years ago. Let's go back. Well, actually, the best way to do that is just for me to blow this on out. You'll see where I'm talking about. This is where I'm talking about. Okay, so I had marked pivot points here, and then I started looking at them here, and I got this one marked here. And so this little zone of where selling came in is going to create some resistance. We'll see how strong the buying is, whether it's strong enough to push on up through that. And then, of course, the next zone or resistance point is right up here. Okay, that's those markets. Let's go ahead and look at Alibaba. Okay, Alibaba, big down day today, down 3.27 to close at 96.31. This is definitely rolled over. You can see the 21's now broken below the 55. The 10's been below the 21. The short-term trend's been down since the 1st of December. And actually, I missed a great opportunity to go short right here. And I'm kicking myself. At the close at 101.62, should have bought puts. And but you know, we'll just continue to watch it. So what are we looking at? Where could this stop? I started to look at this. Let me give my crosshairs. I don't see any, you know, looking back over here, do you see any major support area? I don't see any until you get down into this area. And so because of previous, you know, where previous selling came in, might become a floor. Now, the other thing I'm looking at is this first leg down. Let's measure out, see this first leg down here, go back to this interim rally and say, okay, the second leg down will equal the first leg right down here at 92.4. Okay, so in the 92 to 93 area, maybe we'll get maybe we'll get some buying come in, and that'll be something to watch. So I'm going to leave that out there like that to remind me what I did. And the other one, so take a look at Baidu. Baidu's continued. This is not having anything real fast. I mean, it's just meandering kind of down and to the right here. Again, the short-term trend and intermediate trends are now to the downside. We're still, the long-term trend, the 55 is still above the 233. So the long-term trend is still to the upside, but it is now breaking down out of this impulse channel that I had. These, I don't know what you call these, lavender lines or whatever, pink, lavender, I'm not sure what color that is. I'm partially colorblind, so that doesn't help me. All right, so, drawing a trend line in here, this is breaking down through that. And again, what we're looking at is, I think, we've got at least this 5 waves, and I think we've put in something even bigger than that. So it'll be interesting to see if this starts to accelerate to the downside. I mean, right now it's just kind of not doing a whole lot very fast. Now, it does look, now that I look at this, sometimes it's amazing how you can just look at things for a little while and then all of a sudden, the light bulb goes off and you see a picture of something. Doesn't this kind of look a little bit like a, oh, and I should have my presentation marker thing out here. Let me see if I can pull that in here real quick. What I was going to say is this kind of looks a little bit, oh, that's not good. Here. This looks a little bit like a head and shoulder, and you kind of draw a line across like that. So it's like a continuation head and shoulders, or consolidation head and shoulders type thing. I call it a continuation. And so that's a possibility of what might be going on here and why this has taken a while. You got to first move down, and then now it's chopping sideways in here. And then this will then continue the move to the downside if that's the case. That's what it looks like to me. Okay, and then the last one we wanted to take a look at is QIHU 360. And QIHU's doing the same thing, only more dramatic. I mean, to the downside. It's continuing this move. You can have this little trend line break. It's, continuing the downward move that it's been in for, gosh. Again, all the moving averages are aligned negatively. All the way back up in here. And this is, again, I do think this is a big top that's come in here. And so what I've got measured here is the head. Okay, so this is a shoulder, left shoulder, complex left shoulder, a large head, and a complex right shoulder. Went a little bit higher than the left one, but again, the same kind of choppiness that was shown over in here. When this broke down through here, this is the head and shoulders target. So if that's the case, then I think, 45 is the target we've got on QIHU 360, and right now it's not acting like there's any reason to not believe that that's a high probability target. So that's what we're going to have out there. We'll see if it hits it. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you felt like this video was helpful, please share it on social media. If you're not a subscriber, just click on the little red box on the screen and subscribe. You can download the free PDF I've got for you, the 5 Essentials, and it gets you access to the Trade Ideas webpage. First name and email, and you are good to go. Have a great Friday, everyone.